Alright guys, it's time for me to review one of the most confusing, complex, and perplexing films I've ever seen in my life. This review is going to be very fun. Hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here. Autobot Mike 18 here with another movie review that is again overdue, about a month overdue. And a lot of you are even wondering, why am I even bothering to review this movie? Well, here it is. I can't stop thinking about this movie. It's burning a hole in my mind. I can't get it out of my head, and I need to talk to someone about it. So that's why this review is happening. So with that being said, guys, in this video, I am going to be reviewing Enemy. Enemy is the new thriller film from director Denis Villeneuve. I hope I'm saying his name right. In case any of you haven't heard of his name before, you should have. If you have seen last year's hit thriller, Prisoners, you will probably have heard of the name Denis Villeneuve before, because Denis Villeneuve is not only the director of Enemy, he also directed Prisoners. And in case you guys didn't know, Prisoners was my #2 movie of last year. It's one of my favorite thrillers of all time. And it's one of my favorite movies ever made. That was just a perfect movie in my opinion. So naturally, when I heard that Denis Villeneuve's next film was going to be Enemy, and it was another collaboration with Jake Gyllenhaal, I immediately got excited for this movie because of how much I loved Prisoners. And fun fact, Enemy was actually made before Prisoners. Believe it or not, Prisoners... Villeneuve and Gyllenhaal worked on Enemy first, and then they teamed up again for Prisoners, but Prisoners got released first, Enemy got released later on. And getting into Enemy's release date, the movie came out about mid-March, so about a month ago, in a completely restricted limited release. When I mean restricted limited release, I mean like this movie didn't come anywhere. Like the closest theater had to have been about, I don't know, 5 hours away from me. This movie was literally like nowhere to be found, and I was so upset because I was looking forward to this movie so much because of the collaboration of Villeneuve and Gyllenhaal yet again. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not see this movie in the theaters. I watched it online on a movie website, okay? And I don't condone websites that upload full movies, especially movies that just come out in the theaters. I don't condone those websites, but for this scenario, I wanted to see this movie so bad, I didn't care. I scoured the internet, and I'm so glad I found this movie. I'll leave a link down below to the movie, to the website that shows the movie. And you could watch it. I'll leave a link down below. It won't cause any viruses on your computer or anything. Just a couple pop-ups that you could just X out. But anyway, with that being said, guys, getting into my review of Enemy, like I said, I called it one of the most confusing films I've ever seen in my life, and it definitely is that, especially since I've only seen it once. However, I love this movie. If that makes any sense, I loved the hell out of this movie, okay? So let's get on to the premise, which actually seems very simple, but gets very, very, very complex as the movie progresses. So, the premise behind Enemy. Jake Gyllenhaal stars as a history college professor. Teaches a history course, lives a very mundane, boring life. He kind of does the same thing. Gives class lectures on dictatorships every day, goes home to his girlfriend, sleeps with her, has a drink or two, then goes to sleep, and then repeats the process. So very boring, unsociable life, really. So one day at work, Jake Gyllenhaal is talking with one of his colleagues, and the colleague suggests that Gyllenhaal checks out a certain movie. So Gyllenhaal decides to rent this movie for the hell of it. His life is as boring as it is anyway, so why not? Decides to rent this movie. He watches it, and something intrigues him as he's watching it. While he's watching the movie, he recognizes an actor in the movie, and the actor looks exactly like him. And when I mean it looks exactly like him, the actor is basically him, okay? The actor is an exact, 100% exact lookalike of Jake Gyllenhaal, because Jake Gyllenhaal plays two characters in this movie. He plays the college professor who lives the very boring life, and he plays the actor who Jake Gyllenhaal sees in the movie. So, the college professor character of Jake Gyllenhaal immediately becomes concerned of seeing the actor who looks exactly like him. He starts asking a lot of questions. He becomes obsessed with trying to find this guy and meet him in person. Wants to learn more about this guy, find out why they look alike, why they have similar physical characteristics. Very curious, and Gyllenhaal needs to find some answers, and that is basically the premise behind Enemy. And like I said, guys, it seems like a very simple premise at first. When you first go into this movie and you first watch it, you feel like, oh, it sounds very simple. It sounds like an average thriller. It's probably going to be predictable, and you're probably going to, you're going to foresee things that happen in the movie right before they happen. But Enemy, no. This is definitely not that type of movie. It throws a complete curveball at you because Enemy is not your standard thriller. If you are the type of moviegoer that goes to a movie just to have fun and enjoy the movie and, not have to think about anything, have a carefree time, this movie is not for you. Enemy is not your type of movie. Enemy is that rare type of movie that must require you to think, because if you are not thinking about anything other, if you are thinking about anything other than this movie, you are going to become completely lost throughout this movie. Your attention needs to be focused 100% on this film as you're watching it, because if you wander at all, you do anything like that, you are going to be so lost. Enemy is that type of movie that leaves so many unanswered questions by the end. It's very complex and hard to follow by the end of it, by the way it ends. A lot of questions are left unanswered, but it's that type of movie that makes you interpret it in your own way and answer the questions in your own way. And if you don't like a movie like that, it's not for you. However, I still enjoy this movie for a multitude of other reasons, namely because it was a great thriller. As I started watching it, I got drawn into this movie so well. I couldn't wait to see how it was going to end, how things were going to unfold. Even though the ending was one of the biggest what the F moments I've ever seen in my life in any movie, it was still a great thriller in that sense. So, moving on, guys. Real quickly, we would love to discuss the cast, even though I'm really only going to talk about Jake Gyllenhaal, who I thought did a fantastic job in Prisoners. I've seen him in other really good performances before in the past, so I knew he was going to be good in this movie. And while he gives a great performance as playing both of these characters, what really wowed me with Gyllenhaal's role in this film are the shots in which he's literally talking to himself. Since Gyllenhaal is playing two characters in this movie, you see Gyllenhaal on one side of the shot in some certain scenes, and Gyllenhaal on the other side of the shot. So Gyllenhaal is essentially talking to himself in the movie. So he had to literally film his scenes as the college professor. In the shots where he's talking to himself, he had to film his scenes talking to himself, not talking to anyone, as one of the characters. Then he had to go back and film those scenes again, and film the scenes as the other character. And he has to emote and react, and he pulls it off perfectly with his emotions and the way he has to react to certain things that the other character does, or react to things that the other character does, if that makes any sense. That is why Gyllenhaal does such a great job in this movie, and that is due to very good direction by Denis Villeneuve. That is how you direct a movie like this, where the actor is split on the screen in a shot. That is amazing, and Gyllenhaal pulled it off amazingly in this movie. If that's a word. Supporting cast: Melanie Laurent plays a girlfriend, and Sarah Gadon plays a pregnant wife, and I think both of them do a good job in the movie. Very good supporting cast, in my opinion. And moving on, guys, I think it's time for me to finally get into my rating for the film. And like I said earlier, this is that type of movie that's definitely going to make you think, and if you don't like to think while you're watching a movie, or you don't like to not understand, like if you're that type of person like me who needs to understand every single thing that happened in this movie. Everything needs to be 100% crystal clear. Not one question can be left unanswered. If you're like me, then you're probably not going to like this movie as much. But if you love interpreting things in your own way and questions being left unanswered for you to answer them yourselves, and if you love putting the pieces of the film together yourself, this is your type of movie. And because although I had problems with the fact that the movie is complex by the end, and it is confusing in some of its final scenes, I love this movie for a variety of other reasons, because it's such a well-constructed and well-crafted film. That's why I'm going to give Enemy a 9 out of 10. Yeah, I was shocked too. I really loved it. And I think after I watch this movie a couple more times, I'll start to grasp the meanings and the themes of the movie a lot better. That's what I really need to do. I'm working on a few theories as to what happened by the end of the movie. I got a few viable theories going on, but I'm still working on it. But anyway, 5 reasons why I love this movie. The 5 best things about Enemy. Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, Denis Villeneuve's direction, the cinematography, the film editing, and the score. I already explained Gyllenhaal's performance. Getting into Denis Villeneuve's direction, he showed me that he can direct a film as important and as intense as Prisoners was last year, and he does it again with Enemy. I literally cannot wait to see what this guy does next. It's just, it must have been hard to direct scenes where Gyllenhaal is talking to himself, essentially, and then he had to go back and film scenes where Gyllenhaal is talking to himself again, and splice the two of them together. That is extremely hard to do, and Villeneuve pulled it off. His shots were so well set up. All the actors did a very good job in their scenes. That is why I praise Villeneuve for this movie. I cannot wait to see what this guy puts up next on the big screen. Moving on, the cinematography. If you are a film lover, you are going to appreciate this movie for its amazing cinematography. The shots are so well set up. There are a great amount of wide shots in the movie. There are shots where it shows buildings and the shot is panning down the buildings, and you have the creepy score that fits the movie so well playing in the background. Cinematography was excellent, as it was in Prisoners, even though 2 different cinematographers did both movies. The movies. The film editing. This movie has a lot of slow scenes. I'm not going to lie. Did they ever feel slow to me? No. Did they ever feel slow to me? No. And there's a specific reason why. There are scenes where there's hardly any dialogue, where characters are just trying to figure things out and they're not saying anything, and it does feel a little slow. But because this movie's so short, and because it's so intense, and it just sucks you in, and it caught my attention, I couldn't stop thinking about it throughout the whole thing, I couldn't wait to see how it all ended, this feels like a very fast-paced movie, and that is due to great editing, in my opinion. There are those slow scenes, but they're building tension, and that's why I love this movie so much. There's a scene towards the end of the movie that involves both of the Gyllenhaals and the 2 female leads, the 2 female actresses in the movie. And those scenes were just so well edited and very important to the movie. Loves those scenes. And finally, the score. The score felt like something out of an eerie Hitchcockian thriller. You know, it reminded me of the original insane score in Psycho. Enemy has its own type of score that fit the mood of the movie so well. It's eerie, it's creepy, it's tense. It was great. The score was excellent. And the screenplay was good, guys. You know what? While it was mind-boggling, the screenplay is mind-boggling. Is it complex? Yes. Does it have so many things to grasp and so many different meanings of symbols and everything in the movie? Does it have all that? Yes. But it still was very well written with a great setup and premise, in my opinion. And although the payoff wasn't wasn't what I wanted from it, that was ultimately my major problem with the film. I was seeking closure on most of the unanswered questions in the movie, and they remained unanswered by the end of the movie for me. Like I said, like I've been saying, things do feel complex and things do feel confusing. You will be mind-boggled by the end of this film. You're going to say to yourself, wait, why did the movie just end this way? I don't get it. Why did it end? I don't get this movie. You're going to get really upset. You're going to research this movie endlessly. That's exactly what I did. As soon as I finished the movie, I went online. I read articles. I watched, analyzed video reviews of this movie, trying to grasp the themes and everything that went on. And I'm still having trouble putting all the pieces together. And even though this movie is entertaining in that way that you have to put the pieces together yourself as it ends and interpret the movie in your own way, the fact that it didn't give me the closure I was looking for, and it left so many things unanswered and so many things felt complex by the end, that is ultimately why I didn't give this movie a full 10 out of 10, and I gave it 9 out of 10. But I feel after I watch the movie a couple more times, I think I'll eventually grasp every single thing that happened, and I'll have my own viable interpretation and theory of what happened in the film. But until now, I'm sticking with the 9 out of 10. It is a very well-crafted, well-constructed thriller that felt intense, well-directed, edited, shot, all of that, acted perfect in that sense. But despite the fact that it was complex and didn't give me the closure I was looking for, and it is still burning holes in my head, and it's still raising so many questions. That's why I went 9 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on Enemy, guys. I really would love to hear what you have to say about the movie. How did you interpret the movie? Let me know down below. How do you see the movie and its scenes? Explain what you think the movie means and what everything in the movie means. Let me know down below in the comments. I recommend this movie to die-hard cinephiles, not to the average moviegoers, because it's not your type of movie, and it is very complex in that sense. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my review, and definitely recommend you check out this film in the end, because it's going to provoke discussion for a very long time over the next couple of years, because it's that type of movie that just makes you think. So thanks for watching, guys. Bye.